Hi guys, this is Nirmal. Today I'll be demonstrating configuring Windows Deployment Services. Windows Deployment Services is a server technology for Microsoft for network-based installation of Windows operating systems. It is a successor to remote installation services. Windows Deployment Services is intended to be used for remotely deploying Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows Server 2008, and Windows Server 2012, but also supports other operating systems because, unlike its predecessor, RIS, which was a method of automating the installation process, Windows Deployment Services uses disk imaging, in particular, the Windows Imaging Format WIM, WIM. Windows Deployment Services is included as a server role in all 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Windows Server 2008 and is included as an optionally installable component with Windows Server 2003 Service Pack 2. Okay, to begin, we will first need to set up the Windows Deployment Services by adding it in as a server role. So here we go. To do this, we go to Start, Server Manager, and we select roles, and then we will add role. We then click Next, and to the last option, Windows Deployment Services, is what we are going to install. So we will select Windows Deployment Services, and then we click Next, and we also click Next from here. Alright, we leave these two options ticked, which is the deployment server and the transport server. The deployment server provides the full functionality of Windows deployment. Alright, so we click Next here, and here is just a prompt stating that the server might need to be restarted after the installation is completed. So now we proceed to install. Alright, so we will take a short pause, and once the installation is completed, we then continue the video. Okay guys, so the installation was successful. Okay, so at this point I am about to close the wizard. Okay, and we will come out of the server manager. Okay, so moving forward, what we are required to have is a copy of a Windows operating system disk. Alright, because that is what is needed to set up the Windows deployment services. So to reach to the Windows deployment services, we go to Start, Administrative Tools, and we look for the Windows deployment services snapping. So let's select this, and we get the Windows deployment services screen. What we do is we are about to configure, so we right click and configure server. So here it's telling you that the computer to be a member of Active Directory Domain Services, an Active DHCP server, an Active DNS, and NTFS. All these was configured in prior videos. Okay, so we click Next. By default, we leave this part as remote install. Click Next. Alright, here is giving you a prompt that the volume selected is also Windows system volume. We say yes, because if you click no, we will not be able to go. Okay, at this point, we are going to select Do Not Listen on port 67 and configure DHCP option 62 PXE client. Alright, so it is saying that port 67 is the Windows deployment services must be configured to not listen on port 67. Alright, because DHCP was also on the port 67. So we click Next here. Alright, so for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to select responding to all known and unknown client. Alright, because I mean you have other options. You have do not respond to client, you have respond only to known clients, but for this tutorial we are responding to all known and unknown clients. So I'm about to click finish, and we will take a short pause until it is completed. Okay, so the configuration was completed. Alright, so at this point, for the sake of this tutorial, we are going to leave this checkbox ticked, and we are going to add image to Windows deployment server now. I mean, you can also do this at a later time, but for the sake of this tutorial and for the sake of time, we are going to add image now. So I'm about to click finish. Alright, so at this point, we are about to browse our operating system disk. Alright, so you go to my computer, going to CD drive. Okay guys, I'm back. Okay, I ran into a little technical difficulty there where the CD drive was recognizing on my main machine, but it wasn't recognizing on the VM. Alright, so I was able to rectify that by doing some configurations on my VM. Okay, so before we would have asked the wizard to configure automatically or configure now, but due to my difficulty, I have to now do it manually. Alright, well that's no problem. Okay, so let's go. So we were back into Windows deployment services. Alright, so now I'm about to add a boot image. Okay, so remember you need a copy of Windows operating system, CD or DVD drive. Okay, so we right click in the white spot here and we add a boot image. So we go to browse. Alright, if you let me just pull on this here so you can see like a Windows image, the WIM image. Alright, WIM image. Once you go into your disk, it will be found under sources. So we open. Alright, and we do the boot WIM, sorry, and we click open, click next, next, next. Alright, so we'll be back shortly once this is completed. Okay, so the wizard was completed installing, so we now click finish. Alright, so here we have Microsoft 32-bit status is online on the OS version 6.1.76.01, sorry, 7601. Okay, so now we have to install an image. So you right click and click add install image. Here we are going to create a new image group. For the sake of this tutorial, I am going to name this OS deployment. Okay, click next. I'm going to browse the file location, and this time we're going to install Vim. Click OK, next, next. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to install Windows Ultimate 32-bit. Next. Alright, so we take a short pause while the wizard has completed and we'll be back shortly. Here we have the Windows 7 Home Basic Service Pack 1 online, and what we are about to do now is to share the operating system with multiple clients. Alright, by default it is set as unicast, which is just for one user, so only one user at a time can use it. Alright, to do this, we select multicast, right click, create multicast transmission. We put type of friendly name, multicast test. Next. Alright, so we select Windows 7 Home. Alright, so from here, this is, if you can remember from before, we had named the image OS deployment, and this is what is contained in OS deployment. So you click next. We leave by default autocast and click finish, and there we go. Here we have the name multicast test, transmission time autocast, and the status is waiting. So now any user can access the operating system via this multicast section of the Windows Server 2008. So I thank you guys for watching my video and have a good one.